Hi Evan again.
Hi.
What are we going to do in this video?
I think it makes sense to address some of the common questions or let's say worries people like first-time investors in Bali might have, like specifically foreigners.
And how do you make sure that your advice is relevant? Like, can we rely on your advice and your expertise?
You better do. I've been working here. This is our job to deal with all legalities and all these questions and all that stuff. So yeah, you can trust us.
Okay, and first common question, is it possible for foreigners to own property in Bali?
The question is, the short question is yes. And there are different ways you can do that. But the simpler way of owning property in Bali is just be a tourist or even not be here. Some people buy remotely. Yes, you can own property as long as it's a leasehold. Now, one might ask, what is a leasehold? So in Indonesia, as a foreigner, you cannot own property the way you can in other parts of the world, that is forever yours. You can, let's say, rent it for multiple years. And of course, the disadvantage here is that you don't own it forever. The advantage is that you don't pay for so many years. It's usually much more accessible, financially affordable for people to invest in land or property in Bali, exactly because they will only own for, let's say, 25, 30 years the property. Of course, they can extend. In most contracts, there is a clause of extension, but yes, principally you get, let's say, 25, 30 years. No problem as a foreigner. You can own it as a person, as a tourist, or as a company. So you can make a personal, let's say, company and own the leasehold.
Yeah, and I would say like it's fair to notice that there is not only leasehold, there is also HGB title, but you need to have your company in Indonesia,
Yeah.
and it's much more complicated. It's more expensive. So there are options, but leasehold is the most optimal one.
Correct. And I should explain a little bit about this title. There are several titles, right? But what is relevant, I think, for foreigners is either leasehold, which is the simplest, it's the most simple to deal with, but also simple to find. But if someone is really into doing serious investment, want to make sure they have it up to 70, 80 years the land, then they can look into a freehold land, which then has to be turned, and excuse me about not using the exact terminology, but at the end of the day you have the right to build on this land for 70 to 80 years. But this only if you establish a company first, a foreign investor company, and then make sure you get this kind of titles. A bit more complicated, but it's for more savvy investors that have something specific in their mind. Otherwise, for the majority of the people who want to first time invest in Bali, a leasehold would be, the best option.
Okay, and when it comes to leasehold, what actions should people do? Like, do they need to have a visa? How much should they be involved to it?
Yeah. As I said before, you can own property here as a tourist, which means if you come here at a tourist visa, that's more than enough. I mean, you obviously need to have a passport, and that's it. And in some cases, we know documented cases in which people don't even come here. They make a power of attorney, and then they buy property here in Bali through the lawyer that represents them. So yeah, it's as easy as that.
Okay, let's talk about investment itself. So we discussed slightly about legal stuff. So what investment strategies exist in Bali, and what are the most popular types of property, like maybe commercial spaces, villas, apartments, guest houses?
So if we're talking purely as an investment, there are two ways, or let's say two big buckets. One is I buy a leasehold property and I keep it as a passive income basically for as long as the leasehold lasts, 25, 30 years, 40, whatever. That's one way of looking at things. And the other way is buy early, because a lot of the projects here in Bali demand is kind of limited compared to the, demand is quite high compared to the supply, so most of the projects are offered on off-plans basis, so before they even start. And therefore this is where you can score really good prices. Like our project in the apartments project in Berava Beach, we have a pre-sale price which is like way below market value, and this we can do because we are not locking any capital on the project yet, so we can afford to lower significantly the prices. So this is the other strategy. You buy early and then you wait a year and a half until the construction is completed, and then you can sell at market value, and this can amount up to 30% in 1 year, which is a very significant return for an investment.
So you have several projects, villas, townhouses, apartments, but basically what is better to choose?
Correct. So it goes back to your question on, typically people in what kind of real estate objects people typically invest here, or where it makes sense. As you said, there's commercial, and then there is kind of the residential or housing, let's say, properties. Commercial is definitely interesting, but I would not say that this is the best bet. There's a lot of opportunities with tourism here on the housing part, so or the accommodation, let's say, part, Airbnb, Booking.com, long-term rental. So anything along the lines of townhouses, villas, apartments is the best bet, and it's also widely available. There's a lot of options to choose from.
And interesting question. So you're coming from Europe,
yeah,
but you personally decided to invest in Bali.
Yeah.
Why, in comparison with Europe? What are returns in Bali? Why are they better?
Yeah, so it goes back to the leasehold that makes it actually so much more affordable to make an investment. The reason why I picked Bali is the returns are really attractive. So that's one. And why is this? It's because it's a growing market when it comes to tourism. The beauty of this island and what this island has to offer, and the way it has positioned itself in the global tourism market, in which it attracts people from the US, people from Australia, people from Europe, people from all over Asia. Like it's hard to think that a big financial issue that happens in one part of the world will be solely affecting Bali, because then you have so many different economies that are not necessarily well coupled and related, that allow the island to be full pretty much all the time, no matter what. And the reason why I'm convinced about this is because I spent time here during the COVID pandemic, and I used to live in Canggu area, and it was, the best living proof, really, that it's so resilient market. Anywhere else in the world, anything that has to do with tourism and accommodation really suffered big losses, but not in Bali. Everything was full here. All villas were full. What was the only, let's say, downside was the prices were lower, because obviously demand was slightly lower, but everything was full. It just, you would earn a little bit less money. But that was, I think, one of the two places in the whole world that this happened. It was here and Tulum in Mexico. So that's it, like Bali and Tulum. But Bali, I think, it really picked up after this. Everyone understood how resilient Bali can be, how you can switch from daily tourists to long-term digital nomads because of the community that exists here. And that kind of assures that your villas or any accommodation you own here will always be one way or another full and bring money to you.
Okay, you mentioned Canggu.
Yeah.
But other areas in Bali that attract you for investment, or why do you think that Canggu is the best? How's about Ubud, Uluwatu, that are also quite popular now?
Sure, I think Bali has a lot of things to offer. There are a lot of popular areas. You mentioned Uluwatu, and the whole Bukit area is picking up really fast. Ubud, obviously, it's established there. Eat, Pray, Love, everyone has watched the movie and they go to find themselves in Ubud. And then of course you have Canggu. So I think that would be the main areas. And by Canggu I mean the wider area of Canggu, so from Berava all the way to Pererenan. And now the trends are towards Sese and even towards Kidungu. Why I'm focusing in Canggu at the moment, Canggu is established, like there is community here of like-minded people. No matter what is your nationality, it feels like home if you are on the same page with people here, like healthy living, surf culture for some, digital nomad, and hustling for networking with ambitious people, yet all the whole well-being and good food and yoga and being fit attitude. Like anyone who thinks the same way, no matter what the nationality, Canggu is very, very well established. Yes, in other parts of Bali this is also happening slowly, but the only place that is really well established for now is Canggu.
Okay, and when it comes to money, what is their entry point to buy a property? For example, a person says, I have $50,000, what I can do with this? So what is like lowest point you would recommend to consider?
Yeah, so this can vary quite a bit, but I would say on average plus minus $200,000 opens up the majority of what is offered in Bali. If we talk about extremes, I know of apartments of less than $80,000, that's like one-bedroom apartments, and I know of villas of more than 3.5 million USD. So there are extremes, but the majority of what you would get is around $200,000. Already with I would say with above 150 and above, you're getting something really good quality. So we have with just above 150, 2-bedroom townhouses, private pool at really good, favorable locations. So yeah, as of October, November of 2024, I think these are fair prices. And this goes back to what you were saying, why here and not in Europe and stuff. No one would be able to afford such a luxury villa with its own private pool for $150,000 anywhere else in the world, 10-15 minutes away from world famous surf spots and beach and all that stuff. So this goes to show that leasehold is not a disadvantage necessarily, it's actually an advantage, because these villas can command upwards of $2,000 a month as a revenue, and this you cannot get anywhere else in the world.
Okay, and when it comes to financial models, opportunities, like for example, we can consider, like we can offer people to take payment plan, to use payment plan, right?
Yeah.
So tell more about it.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, a lot of the projects here, we offer them on an off-plans basis. So we develop the project, we secure the land, and then we offer it to our clients. And then of course we're not going to ask the money up front because there's nothing there. It's like an empty land, right? And a promise of a building. So what we do is we offer a plan to match the construction progress milestones. So the clients would only pay after they receive certain deliverables. So one would be beginning of construction, foundation completion, so the walls and mechanical, electric and pipes and all that stuff, the roofing. So we space it in a way that makes sense. So the payment plan is typically lasts as long as the construction lasts, and that would be around a year and a half. But then we can also be flexible, right? If we make sure we can get like 50-60% or above of the amount of the property at a reasonable amount of time, then we can stretch a little bit the payment plan period, or we can also offer better discounts if someone wants to pay something up front. Yeah, we're flexible on that side, and I think this is a wide practice. A lot of people do it around here.
What are the other costs associated with property?
So with the purchase of the property, when I say it from a buyer standpoint, it's actually, I think, only the notary fee, right? So when you pay the notary, it usually includes, in most cases, it's about 1% of the transaction value. So it's just 1%. And in most cases includes a due diligence. So the notary checks that we are complying with any legal requirement. So yeah, so the taxes we pay, the tax when we give it to them, so it's just 1% the notary fee.
Yeah, but I would say that pay the tax by developer, it's not like it's common, but it's not in 100% cases. So, but
Yeah.
we do it and we recommend to double check.
Yeah, our prices include any taxes and stuff, so no hidden fees other than the 1% fee that we pay the notary. And we do it on purpose. I mean, 1% is not a big deal. We could pay, but you know, this is to ensure that there is no bias or interference. You can choose your own notary. You can have the notary that he will be paid by you to make the due diligence on us. It wouldn't be nice if we pay someone that is checking on us. So that's the only reason we do it, but otherwise it's just 1%, no hidden fees.
How's about furnishing package? Do people need to buy something else in order to rent out their property?
Yeah, so our philosophy is how to make it as easy as possible for someone to either move in, because it's a foreign country, like they live somewhere else. So how to make it as easy as possible to either move in or to rent it out without having to think anything about it. Obviously, we give the option for someone who wants to be involved in the process, in the creative, on the interior, to find their own material or furniture. You can do it, but we know that the majority of people, they just don't have the time to do this. They just approach this as an investment and they want everything to be ready. So of course we offer furniture package. We explicitly mention when this is included in our prices or not. So for instance, in the apartments project, it is included. It's nothing extra. In other townhouses, we have the difference. This is how much it costs if you want to buy the townhouse, and this is how much if you want to add also the furnishing package, so people know, it's very clear to them. And we offer everything that is needed, from all the furniture, the electrical appliances including fridge, air conditions, TV, the cutlery, bed sheets, like extra bed sheets if you run it as an Airbnb, so you have like spare. The curtains, I think I mentioned, anything, decoration, small, like we succeed if they succeed. So we want it to be not just ready for being used on Airbnb, but for someone to start Instagramming it, right? Taking the pictures because it's so cute and cozy and has the tropical Bali vibes.
So I bought the villa, construction is finished, what's next?
So what do you mean?
Like how I make sure that my property actually works and brings money.
Oh, in that sense. So as I said, the deal for us, like if our clients succeed with their objectives, we succeed. So we don't want to leave this up to luck. So far we have been partnering with very credible companies in the rental management space, and we can recommend partners, but also we have our own division only focusing on this, without having as a key successful criterion how much money it will make this business activity. It's more of a complementary service we do, so that those guys who want a one-stop shop buy something and then just wait until it's finished and they will start receiving a monthly income, then we are here. We are already at a super host status on Airbnb, but we are not limiting ourselves there. We try to utilize any channel that we can market the villa, so we can maximize the profit our clients get. If they're happy, we are happy. So these are our only objective. So we offer management services one way or another.
So what kind of rental format do you use? Is it short-term rent or long-term rent, or do you mix it? How you make sure that there is high occupancy all the year in the property?
So my objective, like I'm looking at the outcome. How do we maximize the returns, period. There are some neighborhoods, some villas, they just perform better at daily rates. So this is where we focus on these villas. There are other neighborhoods that really do well, and there's a lot of demand for, you know, families that want to live here, and therefore we focus there. So wherever it makes sense to make the most out of this property. And I think that's also the differentiating factor of us. Most of other companies, they have a standard operating process. They just upload everything on Airbnb and Booking, and they say, oops, that's the market, you know, not too much demand here. But what we do differently is we always experiment. Where does this villa works best? In which platform? For which length of time? For which target audiences? And it could be that the same villa performs absolutely amazing on Airbnb in high season, but then in low season people just don't want it. But at the same time, we know that if we offer it on a monthly basis, it performs really, really well. So we're not just, you know, uploading something and hoping for the best, and then we say it's not us, it's Airbnb. No, we just make sure that we switch whenever it's possible and as needed to maximize the returns of its property.
What are the common expenses when you rent out your villa? Maybe you can mention some, like numbers.
Yeah, sure. So as of now, on a 2-bedroom, private garden, private pool villa, you would expect more or less about $1 million Indonesian rupiah, which are around $60-70 for almost daily housekeeping, maybe 5 days out of 7. So it can go less if one needs, you know, less frequent cleaning. We recommend to have, you know, daily. The gardening and pool would be about $30 a month or so. Then you have the washing of all the bed sheets and stuff periodically, like on a monthly basis again.
Like I would say
$20-30, not more than that. So these are the standard expenses. Of course,
and how's about electricity, Wi-Fi?
Yeah, so you have definitely the chemicals and all the detergents and stuff. I don't think it's more than $20 per month.
As for electricity, it's usually...
For electricity, it's more on the depending, right? But if it's long term, it's 1 million to 2 million maximum. If it's daily, it's 2 million. So that translates again $60-70 to maybe double that. So yeah, $100-120 a month.
And Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi, well, it depends on the deal, but I think we encourage our clients to go on yearly deals, which means about $200 a year for 100 megabps. I think it's very reasonable.
Again, how do you make sure that everything is transparent in the process of management? So, for example, can I see all these expenses? Can I see all these bills if I want?
Absolutely. Like transparency and reliability is, you know, one of our values. So, yes, every single receipt that we receive is going into a photo archive. So there are folders, anything can be checked. We provide, of course, an Excel file with all lines of transactions, expenses, revenue, everything. Our management fee is transparent, is there, taxes, and then if they need to dig deeper on any of these expenses, we keep all the receipts from the company we received it, when it was, and all that stuff. So yeah.
And how taxes do work in Bali? Do I need to pay some taxes from my income?
So when you have a property, you need to pay taxes for renting it, and this we take care of. So when people receive their income, it's clean personal income. So then the personal income, if this person is a tax resident in Indonesia, they will have to pay tax income here. But for further details, because each nationality has its own particularities on how they're handling personal income, if it's connected with their own country or not, we definitely recommend you to have a consultation with a tax expert. We can bring you in contact with this, but anything that has to do with the direct tax that comes out of the revenue of renting the villas, we take care of it, we pay, you don't have to think about it.
Again, let's talk about some unpleasant things, like what scams should people be aware of when it comes to investment in Bali?
Yeah, unfortunately there are a few of those and give bad name to the industry. Balinese people are amazing, it's an amazing place to be just because of them. But indeed there are both local and foreigners that try to steal people's money, both on the rental side and on the selling side. On the rental side, they just take pictures from other websites, they create fake accounts on Instagram, they ask down payments, and they just steal the money. So make sure with whomever you're working, they have a legit company, they can share like a company incorporation titles, you get the receipt or something, or they send you an invoice before you pay. Anything that's common sense, please do this research first. And then on the buying side, it's really hard, I think, for someone to just check by themselves the legitimacy of the developer. So that's why we recommend either hire a lawyer or make sure you get in touch with a notary that will prepare the documents for the transaction, so the notary can make an independent due diligence on the developer. Do not send money before you see any legal documents about owning the titles, what sort of titles are the green, what is the zoning, and then company incorporation. Even best if you engage with a lawyer, as I said, or the notary to just make a due diligence.
And let's finish with something pleasant. So name 2 or 3 things why you love Bali most of all, like for these reasons.
Yeah, so well, for me, for years has been my happy place. Before I start the company here, it's a place that for different people resonates differently, but for me, it's a place that I can relax, yet feel part of a community. Although it's, small villages here, it's not like a big city or something. You can always feel connected with all over the world. I think that's unique, like the connectedness, the global connectedness, while it's like remote and quiet. It's the best of both worlds. Natural beauty, the local culture of Balinese people is amazing and you fall in love very quickly with it. So yeah, and then doing a business here or having an investment is honestly one of the highest returns you can expect, and it's such a secure, let's say, compared to anything else, right? Place to make an investment, because legal wise it's very easy to do business here, and it's, as I said, it has established and positioned itself, Bali, as one of the best places to go on vacation. So it attracts reliably tourists from all over the world anytime. There's no really low season here. So refreshing to have a coconut by the beach. So
come to Bali to drink coconuts, chill on the beach, and buy property, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for the conversation. If you have more questions, just don't hesitate to text us.
Yeah, I mean, we touch upon a lot of things, but yeah, if you're serious about investing, we recommend get in touch. Let's have a one-to-one conversation, and hopefully you're much better informed now about the situation in Bali.